Rajesh, a 42-year-old diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2016. By the time he actually came to us, he couldn't even hold a slipper with his foot. His muscles were actually giving out. His muscles were disappearing. And every single specialist that he had visited over the 9 years told him same thing. This is a progressive condition. We cannot cure it completely. And here are the medications which will help to maintain or manage your symptoms for the lifetime. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what our team found when we looked at his case. Not just a diagnosis, but actual data. His blood work, his gut reports, his cellular metabolic markers. Let's talk about what Rajesh's previous doctors were looking at and why it was not enough. In case of MS, there is a standard workup focus protocol that entirely focuses on the nervous system. There are MRI scans that tracks down the lesion progressions. Nerve conduct studies are there. Maybe some of the doctors may involve inflammatory markers. The goal over here is for the damage assessment and damage control. When Rajesh came to us, he was already put on 4 medications. Each medication is treating each different system. The bladder, the cholesterol, the immune system, every prescription is pointing at different organ, a different problem. But nobody was actually asking why all of these systems breaking down at the same time in the same person. That is not a coincidence. This is a pattern, and the pattern actually has a source. His conventional blood work came largely within the normal laboratory ranges, and his neurologist just saw the MRI, confirmed the lesions, confirmed the MS, and closed the file. What they were not checking was his gut, his intestinal barrier, the infections that might be driving his immune system into overdrive, his nutrients levels using the optimal ranges that are very precise and concise ranges used in functional nutrition. The crosstalk that happens between the gut, the immune system, the nervous system is continuous thing, because MS isn't just a nerve problem, it's an immune dysregulated problem, and the nerve damage is downstream. That is the gap conventional medicine was not addressing. Let me show you what we actually found when we looked at the upstream. So GMAP is basically a stool test which actually tells us about what is happening in the gut. The good bacteria, the bad bacteria, the infection, and the state of the gut lining itself. Rajesh's GMAP was actually catastrophic. I don't say that to alarm you, I just say this because it explains everything. So let's look at the reports over here. So if you see over here, his H. pylori bacteria is quite on a higher side. It needs to be below 1 e raised to 3, it's 2.86 e raised to, which is extremely on a higher side. This is actually one of the notorious bacteria which resides in our stomach. And what it does, it's very specific, it's very damaging. It actually destroys our stomach lining and our body's ability to produce stomach acid. Now, why does that matter for an MS patient? Because when your body does not have stomach acid, means your body cannot digest the protein properly. If you cannot digest the protein, you cannot absorb the amino acid that the body needs. And the amino acids are actually the raw material that the body uses to build those neurotransmitters. In a simpler language, neurotransmitters are basically the chemical messengers that controls how your brain talks to your muscles. So no amino acids, no neurotransmitters, no motor control. The foot that couldn't hold a slipper. This is where that story actually begins in. When you look at the another thing over here, so this is a section where it talks about your commensal bacteria, that is a good bacteria. Okay, so you can see over here, the Enterobacter levels are going quite on a higher side. His Akkermansia muciniphila, which is one of the keystone bacteria, it's going below detectable level. That means it's not even present in a minute amount that a test can actually diagnose it. Let me explain why this Akkermansia is very important in case of healthy individual, because Akkermansia being a keystone bacteria, it actually helps our gut lining to heal itself. It's like a protective thing. It protects the gut lining, the gut barrier that is present in our gut lining. So when your Akkermansia is present and is in healthy amount, it maintains this barrier. It keeps the gut contains in the gut where it actually belongs. But in Rajesh's case, as you can see, the Akkermansia is below detectable level. That means it's 0. That barrier actually breaks down completely. The gut lining develops the gaps, And through these gaps, small amount of toxins, inflammatory molecules, or these bacterial fragments can actually directly enter into the bloodstream. What actually happens over here is it doesn't stay just to the gut. Once it enters into the bloodstream, it can actually travel down to the brain. It can cross something called as blood-brain barrier. And once it enters near the nervous system, it triggers an immune response. Because of this, your immune system is already on full alert from the years of the gut infection being attacked by the tissue. This was actually designed, your immune system is actually designed to protect you. But because of the years of infection, it has started attacking. So this mechanism of MS is basically not bad genetics, not bad luck, a gut that has been under a siege for a lot of years, and a body that was exactly doing what it is designed to do in a response. Let's look at the next page over here, okay, which talks more about the opportunistic bacteria. So this opportunistic bacteria is actually present in your gut itself. Okay, so you can see over here the bacillus, the enterococcus, the pseudomonas, the staphylococcus, and even one of the other commensal bacteria, enterobacter, is also going on a higher side. So this is something that needs to be present in your gut, but they should not dominate your gut microbiome, because if this goes on a higher side, it is going to keep your immune system on alert mode. Your body keeps attacking, your body is under a lot of fire every single time. Then over here, we are talking about the parasites, the intestinal health markers. So if you see in his case, the parasites like the protozoas and worms, luckily they were below detectable level and they were not even detected. So that was a really good sign that there was no parasitic infection. But when we look at the intestinal markers over here, the steatocrit that you can see, it should be below 15. It's going to 14. And if you look at this signal kind of a scale, it is falling between the yellow and the red. Okay, so it's a basically alarming sign. So steatocrit basically tells us about whether your body is actually digesting fat or not, the malabsorption of fat. If these levels starts going on a higher side, it basically indicates that the body has been not able to break down the fat and the fat is not getting absorbed well, which we can correlate when we start looking at the OMX more in depth. Then moving down over here, there is a marker which tells us about the secretory IgA. Now secretory IgA is basically your first line of defense in the gut. So these are your immune cells. So in Rajesh's case, that was going on a higher side. Higher side is not a good sign of having a strong immune response. It has been basically telling us that the body has been under a lot of activation. It's on a fire from past few years, that the body has been fighting against the infection that has been hidden in the gut itself. Another thing that you can see over here is antigliadin, IgA. So these are the antibodies that body can make in response to the wheat. So gliadin along with the gluten are the two proteins that are present in your wheat and wheat products. So body is actually creating antibodies. It's not able to tolerate the wheat that he is having. So every single time that he is having anything that is involving wheat or any wheat product, it is contributing to more inflammation in that case. We have a direct marker to confirm the leaky gut that we were talking about right now. Zonulin. His zonulin level, if you look at over here, is 320.5. It should be actually less than 175. So zonulin is a protein that the body releases when your tight junctions in the gut lining are opening. It is a direct biomarker for the leaky gut. His levels, if you see over here, are nearly double the actually borderline findings. So this gut barrier is actually collapsing. So this was about his GMAP reports. Now, let's look at his blood reports. Over here, this is his analysis sheet. So in this analysis sheet, you can see the markers that I mentioned over here, the optimal ranges, the units, his reports. So the ones that are actually deranged, when we compare the reports with the optimal range, the deranged one are marked as red, followed by the possible root causes over here. If you can see over here is his hemoglobin, his RBC and his hematocrit. Both of these three parameters are going on a higher side. Now we know hemoglobin is a protein which is responsible for carrying oxygen. So his body is trying its best to improve the oxygen carrying capacity to the tissues so the tissue can actually utilize that oxygen to repair itself. His MCV levels are slightly on a higher borderline. That means the size of this RBC cells, the volume of the RBC cells are also going on a higher side. We can see over here he has a lot of nutritional deficiencies as well. The B12, the folate, which we'll cover down when we move down ahead. Next, one more thing over here we can see is the platelets. So platelets is something that is responsible for the clotting. And it is one of the blood cells which is also involved in the defense mechanism. As we saw his GI-map reports previously, we can see there are a lot of infections that are hidden in his gut. In response to that defense mechanism, his body was also making a lot of platelets. So the stress that was building up, the infections that were hiding in the gut, all of these things were making his platelet levels to go pretty on a higher side. Another fact that we saw over here is his iron levels were elevated, but his ferritin levels were extremely low. So complete iron dysregulation was happening in the body. That means the body was not able to maintain the iron metabolism within the blood levels and within the storage form. Let's look at his infection and the other inflammatory markers over here, because this is where actually story begins to take a shape. His WBC count, which should be between 3.5 to 6, it's 9.67, so double the level. So WBCs are like a soldier cells that fights against the infection. So the range is actually going double the number. Even the same thing is applying over here when we look at the neutrophils. So different infection, your body makes different types of WBCs, different your frontline soldiers which actually fight against the infection. And neutrophils majorly fight against the bacterial infection. So the optimal range over here for the absolute and neutrophil, you can see that it is going to double the number it actually should go. So his immune system, his army was on full alert. Something in his body was being actively fought, and it had been there in the body for a very long period of time. Now, when we move ahead and look at his other markers, so this was actually telling us a really good idea about what we saw in the GI map and what are we looking at the blood reports, that is the infection panel. So the correlation over here with the blood reports and the GI map reports is something that we can clear-cut see. Let's talk about the vitamin D first over here. Okay, so look at the vitamin D levels over here. It's 18.71. It should be between 50 to 60. I want you to understand what this low vitamin D actually means over here. So vitamin D is not just a bone vitamin, but it is one of the most important, powerful regulator for your immune system that we have. So when your vitamin D levels actually drops down, the immune system loses its ability to regulate itself. It stops knowing when to actually switch off, and it keeps firing all of these things. In MS patients, this means that immune system keeps attacking the myelin sheath. Now this myelin sheath is actually a protective covering around the nerves, which long after it should have stopped it. His neurologist actually missed on checking this point. Coming to the homocysteine levels, which should be between 5 to 9. Again, these number is also double the optimal range, 18.1. Homocysteine is a marker of methylation, a critical process that actually your body utilizes to repair your DNA, to produce the neurotransmitters, and to detoxify. When this is elevated, it tells us two things. One is B complex deficiencies. Your B vitamins are severely depleted, and the body's repair mechanism is running at a very fraction of their capacity. Now here is what it makes your vitamin B12 really important. As we can see over here in Rajesh case, his B12 levels are also double the lesser number. So B12 is directly involved in maintenance of your myelin sheath, the tissue that is actually being getting destroyed in MS. Without it, the nervous system cannot repair itself, and nobody actually has identified this and addressed in his case. Moving upward, if you look at the other parameter over here is ferritin. So ferritin should be between 75 to 150. It is also going on the lowest side. So ferritin is basically a storage form of iron. So when it is low, the body actually struggles to transport the oxygen to the muscles and the tissues. This is contributing directly to the muscle weakness and the muscle fatigue. So even though his body has good amount of serum iron levels, the storage form is also getting depleted. That means his body has a complete iron dysregulation. Moving ahead, we can also see that his NLR ratio, that is neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, is also going on a higher side. So the insulin resistance that is building up, the infections that are there, it is keeping the immune system on a fire alarm every single time it is staying more activated. Moving ahead, let's look at his insulin panel. So over here you can see his postprandial sugar levels, his HbA1c, his fasting insulin, C-peptide are going on a higher side. Insulin is one of the hormones that actually helps your body to maintain the blood glucose levels. So it is going going to take up the excess glucose to the cells so cells can eat up and produce the energy. If the body gets overloaded with glucose, there comes a point where your cells actually starts becoming resistant to the insulin work. This is a term which we call as insulin resistance, and that is something that we can also see in Rajesh's case, that his cells are starving itself. Even though the food is there, it is not getting accepted by the cells to perform the energy. So the fatigue, the low on energy, the muscle weakness that he has been experiencing can be also result because of the insulin resistance that is developing in his body. Next is the LDH that you can see. So LDH is, again, that should be between 140 to 175. It's 246. So this LDH is actually the marker of tissue breakdown. In plain language, his body was breaking down its own muscle tissue faster than it was actually recovering. The muscles loss that he was actually experiencing was not symptom of MS. It was a measurable unit that we can see in biochemical reality. It was showing up in his blood so much. Let's look at his lipid profile. So you can see over here, his HDL levels are low, his triglyceride levels are going on a higher side. So HDL is a good cholesterol. Triglycerides are storage form of fat. So this pattern is actually telling us something important. It is a signature of chronic inflammation and happens because of the insulin resistance. The body is under sustained inflammatory stress that shifts the lipid profile in exactly this direction. He was on cholesterol medications which were just managing the numbers, but it was not addressing the inflammation that was actually building up in the body and the inflammation which was actually driving them. Next, let's understand what his liver panel is giving us an idea about. So there is a clear-cut liver dysfunction is happening because his bilirubin levels are elevated, his ALT levels are elevated. Liver is again one of the important organ that is involved in detoxification of the toxins and everything your body does not need. It makes it prepared to throw it outside. In Rajesh's case, we can see that even the liver dysfunction is also one of the root cause which is making his body to struggle hard, difficult for his body to actually throw out the toxins outside. Moving ahead, let's understand the kidney health panel. Over here we can see his bun levels are dropping down a bit. His creatinine, which is on a borderline, it's within the optimal range, but you can see it's on the borderline, low borderline. So these two markers are talking about the protein. Bun is like an end product that when you have the protein, when it breaks down, the bun is produced. So this is dropping down. So his body's protein demands are not properly met. And we know the protein is one of the important nutrients required and utilize your body, not just for the cell repair, but also for the muscle repair, for the enzymes and the hormone production to regulate the body's homeostasis. Followed by the thyroid hormone over here. In his case, thyroid hormones were also on a lowest side. So thyroid actually regulates the metabolism, the energy production, the neurological function. When it is running below the optimal, even slightly, everything slows down. The muscle recovery slows down, the nerve repair slows down, the cellular energy production also slows down. This was another piece of the picture that has been completely missed out. We also got to know a lot about the additional parameters in his case. So the vitamin A, the folic acid, both of them were on the lower side, and these are the nutrients which are involved in a lot of metabolic processes. His ApoB, his lipoprotein A, these levels were also going on a higher side, which was talking more in terms of the lipid profile. Every single one of these markers was actually telling us the same story. The body was under sustained systematic stage, inflamed, nutrition depletion. The body was breaking down faster than it actually could repair itself. And the source of the sage was actually from the gut itself. Now, let's understand what actually his OMX is giving us an idea about. Let's talk about the OMX, the organic metabolic test, which actually gives us an idea about the cellular report. That means what is actually happening not in the blood, not in the gut, but inside the cells themselves. This level of investigation that conventional medicine almost never reaches. When Rajesh came to us, we got a complete OMX reports done. In his case, the homovanillinic acid, which should be less than 42, but when we look at the scale that is given over here, it is going on the yellow side. Homovanillinic acid, in plain language, if we talk about it, is a number that tells us about how much dopamine is getting produced and broken down in the body. His body was breaking down, gradually started breaking down more of dopamine. Now, you might have heard about dopamine. Most of the people think it as like feel-good chemical. This is a significant oversimplification. Dopamine is also one of the neurotransmitter that actually controls your motor signaling. It allows your brain to actually send those precise coordinated signals to the muscles. So when this system actually collapses down, you lose the fine motor skills, you lose the coordination. Your muscle stops receiving the clear instruction from the brain itself. So the foot that actually couldn't hold the slipper, the legs that were giving out, the muscles that were disappearing. This was not just MS destroying his nerves in isolation. This was the dopamine collapse that was happening. One of the interesting things that we actually found out in his case was the tryptophan metabolism. So tryptophan is actually one of the amino acid that gets converted into serotonin. But if you see, his tryptophan levels were on the lower side. It was on a lower borderline. Another thing that happens in case of chronic inflammation, your tryptophan that needs to get converted into the serotonin, it starts getting converted into kynurenine. So kynurenine in excess is toxic. So the ratio that you can see over here should also be between 0.018 to 0.10. It is going on a higher side. So in case of inflammation, rather than your body converting tryptophan to utilize to make serotonin, it starts making more of the kynurenine, which is neurotoxic for our nervous system. So this KT ratio tells us that the body has been actually doing the diversion for a very, very long time. So his nervous system was being poisoned within. Not by random autoimmune malfunction, but by the downstreaming of the consequences of years of gut-driven inflammation. Moving ahead, let's understand the amino acid panel. His amino acid panel, when we looked at it, it actually confirmed a depth of starvation that was there. His histidine levels that over here we can see, it has also already started dropping down. And this is one of the important amino acid that the body utilizes under stress. Then we have the glycine that is here. So glycine is also on the lower side, which is essential for building and repairing the central nervous system and for production of the collagen, which is the structural protein that every nerve sheath requires. Over here, we can see even his lysine levels were dropping down. Okay, which is important for the muscle repair and the production of the carnitine, the molecule that actually carries the fuel to the mitochondria so the cells can produce the energy. Then we can see over here is the glutamate. All of these things, all of these amino acids, some have already lowered down the range, some of there on the borderline. So even glutamate, which is again amino acid, which acts as a primary source of fuel for the cells in the intestine wall. So without it, the gut cannot actually repair itself, and it is directly getting connected back to the zonulin findings. The proline levels, again, these are also on the reddish line, a core building block for the collagen. So every connective tissue, every nerve, every structural protein in the body actually requires it. His body was not just starving for the calories. He was eating. He was a vegetarian, well-intended one, genuinely trying to be healthy. But in context of destroyed gut, the damaged gut, he could not absorb the proteins that he was eating. So at cellular level, his body has been running out of the molecular building blocks that it requires to sustain itself. And to sustain, what the body is doing is, it is breaking down the muscles to survive properly. Another important thing that we found in his case was the otic acid, which is going on a higher side. It should be between 1.2 to 13.1. It is going 20.6. So it is a marker for ammonia toxicity. We talked about his liver panel when we looked at his blood reports. Already the liver detoxification pathways are overwhelmed, which his elevated liver enzymes in the blood panel actually confirmed it. Ammonia was actually building up in the body. And ammonia is directly toxic to the mitochondria, the energy producing cells that are actually involved in your every cell. When the mitochondria of the nerve cells are poisoned by the ammonia, those nerves starts becoming to fail. So this complete picture looks like this. His gut was overrunning with infections. Those infections were damaging the gut lining. The inflammatory molecules were getting released. Those were traveling to the nervous system where in brain it was causing neuroinflammation. This neuroinflammation was impacting the production of your neurotransmitters. His body was screaming about the amino acid starvation. That means the raw material that the body requires to repair the damage was not there. Toxic ammonia was building up, which was poisoning the mitochondria functioning. And his dopamine levels, his dopamine production has collapsed down to the half what it should be. Conventional medicine actually arrives at the end of this chain. Send autoimmune disease, here are your medications, here are your immunosuppressants. They are just suppressing the immune response to the fire without even asking who has actually lit it. Now let's talk about what actually our team did, and more importantly, why they did it in an order. So first, we focused on healing his gut, because unless and until we don't work on the foundation, the house is still going to be on fire. Because in his case, we saw his zonulin marker is elevated. So that was leaky gut. So we added H. pylori support to eradicate the infection. We added the antimicrobial herbs, which actually will help to eradicate the opportunistic bacteria which was going on a higher side. We focused on adding the L-glutamine, which will help the gut lining to repair itself. Additionally, we also added Akkermansia as a separate supplement, because we saw his Akkermansia levels were pretty on the lower side, and Akkermansia being an important bacteria, it helps for the gut lining to repair itself and maintain the gut mucosal barrier. Apart from this, in his other supplementation, we add in the glutathione, which is like a master antioxidant to manage the inflammation, to manage the oxidative stress that is building up. Vitamin D supplementation was added because we already saw his levels were pretty on the lowest side, and vitamin D plays a crucial role in your immune system regulation. So vitamin D supplementation, B complex, basically to improve the methylation process, to basically give something that the body has been demanding for years, because we saw in his amino acid profile, it was starving. So we were providing the raw material that the body was actually asking for. We also added a magnesium supplement, because we saw his magnesium levels were also on the lowest side. So magnesium being important for the nerve signaling, to improve the nerve excitement, to reduce the oxidative stress. Along with this, the plasminogen, which was something that we had newly added, because plasminogen, when we talk about it, it's basically your specialized phospholipids. That majority of your myelin sheet that is there, it is made up of it. So we actually provided the raw material that will help the damaged myelin sheet to actually repair itself. Omega-3 fatty acids is also one supplement that we added, because we know omega-3, because it is important anti-inflammatory nutrient that will help to cater down the systemic inflammation that has been derived by the ammonia toxicity and other toxins that have been building up. Simultaneously, we focused on improving his diet. He was a vegetarian. So we recommended him to restart having non-veg in his routine. So the eggs, chicken, seafood, and all the other possibility non-veg sources, we recommended him to restart in his diet. Along with that, we completely eliminated the certain inflammatory foods. The gluten, the lactose, the seed oils. We asked him to stop having processed food, the sugars, because all of these are going to contribute to more inflammation, and few of these nutrients are actually going to be utilized by the bacteria which has been already overgrown as a food for them to feed up. Now we know that he has been dealing with this condition since quite a long time. So chronic condition always comes with a chronic stress that gets built up in the body. So it's not just about the diet and the supplements, but we also focus on the lifestyle modification that the body has been asking. Because if his cortisol level stays up extremely high, even the supplementation and the diet won't have that great amount of effect. So we focus also on the lifestyle modification. The circadian rhythm, grounding, we added meditation, we added red light therapy, we added daily sunlight exposure. So that helps along with the diet and supplementation for his body to actually repair. Sana, his nutritionist, was actually daily in contact with Rajesh throughout the protocol for clinical monitoring. When you are running a complex protocol across the gut health, the supplementation, the nutrition, the nervous system regulation simultaneously, you need a real-time feedback on how the body is actually responding to everything. The daily check-ins were happening, what allowed the team to actually adjust, reassure, catch anything that the body has been asking attention before it becomes a problem. When Rajesh actually came to us, he was limping. But during the program, he started noticing small changes in his body. The shift that we say. Sleep was getting improved, the brain fog was getting lifted, the energy started stabilizing, the small things. But when we have been fighting your body for a really long time, even these small changes becomes really big. By the 3 months of the program, his legs actually began to regain the muscle strength. He went from barely holding to the tension to the foot to the 5-kilometer walk every single day. So he was not only improving physically but also mentally. We did not treat the MS. We did not suppress the immune system. We did not sedate it. We looked at the picture as whole. We addressed the gut infection that was driving the immune activation. We restored the nutrients his nervous system needed to repair. We give the mitochondria what they were actually asking for. We give his body the amino acid it had been starved of. The nervous system, that the environment was completely changed. What the nervous system actually wanted, we actually regulated properly. So when the body was finally given what it was asking for, it healed itself. Rajesh's case is not unique. The pattern, the gut driving immune, the driving organ damage shows up across the autoimmune conditions, the thyroid disorder, the neurological dysfunction, and the metabolic disease. The diagnosis changes, but the question always is the same. What is the upstream? The data that we get over here, when you know how to read that data, always has the answer for it.